Alright YouTube, in today's video I'm going to be answering one of the most commonly asked questions that people that compete in Hyrox will put out there, want to find the answers to, and that is, what is the best shoes to wear for Hyrox? What's the best footwear to have on your feet to make sure you are comfortable and perform your best? So we've got a few different shoes in front of you today that I'm going to be covering. Obviously, I'm going to go into a bit of detail about the models, but I'm going to give you alternatives and similar shoes so you can then pick something that you find might suit you the best. I feel like I'm in a pretty good place to answer this question, because not only do I coach athletes and do Hyrox myself, and obviously I've got experience testing some of these shoes in Hyrox, I also used to advise people on running shoes and try them out as a perk of the job before I was a personal trainer. So I've spent a lot of time around running shoes in my life. I've tried a lot of different models, different types. So I've got a pretty good grasp on what's beneficial for Hyrox, maybe what's slightly less suitable. So going straight into it, speaking of slightly less suitable, we're gonna look at Metcons. So these are like your cross-training shoes. You'll see these a lot in CrossFit and your CrossFit boxes. And you will see people wear these in Hyrox because it will be the shoe they use to train in every day. What I will say about these, if you've tried these and running shoes and you've ran in both, these will not feel very comfortable to run in compared to a running shoe, even for a short distance. Hyrox is obviously a large part of running, okay? You've got different exercise stations, but the common theme is you have to run in between every single one. So you're going to be running a lot, 8K to be precise, plus rock zone, which obviously is a little bit more. So these aren't going to be very comfortable for that, and the reason for that is because these are very solid. So Metcons are always designed in mind of giving you stability when you're lifting. So things like your lunges or your wall balls, these would be great for. Sled pull, these would be really good for too. But what I'd say, because they're so solid, there's going to be a lot more impact on your joints and muscles. There's barely any cushioning at all to help you feel more comfortable and absorb that impact every stride you land on the ground. Hyrox is also indoors, so the surface is usually quite hard. So this is essentially like running on concrete almost, which is obviously pretty hard. So therefore the impact anyway is going to be high. So I just don't think these are going to be the most comfortable option. I also don't think they're going to be the fastest option. In fact, they're definitely not going to be the fastest option. So they're not even that light. So the running shoes will be lighter, they'll be more comfortable, and they'll be just a much better all-rounder for you. So when it comes to choosing shoes for Hyrox, I wouldn't say choose Metcons. I've got other shoes here which are cheaper and much more suited for the task at hand. So we're just going to put Metcons over this side in the least suitable. So the rest of these shoes can do a decent job. The next shoe I'm going to go through is the Brooks Launch. So this is actually a shoe that Hunter McIntyre has worn for Hyrox in the past, and obviously he's quite good at Hyrox, so that's an indicator straight away. But the reason this is beneficial over a Metcon is because the cushioning in this shoe, there's more of it, but it's not too soft. So when there's soft cushioning, as your foot hits the ground, you're going to sink into that cushioning, and that's going to make you more unstable. With this shoe, the cushioning is not that soft at all, so it is going to be a nice stable shoe, and it's going to be one that you can actually run in for the distance with no problems at all. So straight away, this is more suitable. Another thing that Brooks in particular have, the grip on Brooks shoes, you can see you've got lugs here which are quite deep. These are quite good for grip, especially on the sled. I did my first Hyrox on these and I had zero issues on the sled whatsoever. Especially once you lace lock to them, which I'm going to quickly go over at the end for you. So grip wise, these were fine on the sleds, which is obviously a really important factor. And they're lightish for a running shoe too. They're lighter than your Metcons, so that's another thing the Metcons don't have. They're actually quite heavy compared to running shoes too. So these are definitely a really good option, and they're actually not too expensive. These aren't going to set you back more than £100. So that's really good for a running shoe. Of a decent quality. Obviously, this is one specific shoe. Shoes that are similar to this, the one that springs to mind is your Nike Pegasus, if you're a fan of Nike shoes. So Nike Pegasus shoes are pretty good too. They may be a little softer than these, but they've still got good grip on them, so they'll be fine on the sleds. And in the running world, they're often referred to as a workhorse shoe, so they can take a lot of miles and a bit of a battering before they start to give way. So they're another really good option as an alternative to these. So moving down the line, this shoe here, so the last two shoes have got carbon plates in. So these two shoes are fastest for running out of the shoes I've got on display today. These are, if you're into your running, you know what these are. These are Vaporflies. So I can't actually remember which model these are and when these was released, because they were a bit cheaper. But these were probably some of the fastest running shoes that money can buy. You can see straight away the difference between these and your Brooks Launch. The stack height of this running shoe is way higher, so you can see there's a lot more cushioning in this shoe. The foam they use is really responsive and it's really light, and it's just real fast foam. You've also got a carbon plate in the shoe in the forefoot, so you see if I try and push my toe towards the rest of the shoe, that's not moving at all. So there's a carbon plate in there. That's really good when it comes to energy return, and that's going to propel you forwards. So far, this shoe sounds great. It's light, it's really quick. If you're just running the 8K of running by itself, this is definitely the fastest option of the shoes I'm going to go through. There's just a couple of things with super shoes such as this, or like your Adidas Pros. All of like the top end shoes you'll see marathon runners wear will fit into this category. The high stack height on these shoes means they're a little bit more unstable. So things like your sled pull and your lunges in particular, I think may be difficult with these. Just because when you're putting your foot down, it's going to be hard to get a real solid base to pull from or lunge through. And it will be noticeable compared to something like the Brooks Launch, which would be much better on those. So that's definitely something to bear in mind. Another thing, this shoe in particular, if you see the back of this shoe, it's actually really hard to fit into the rower with this shoe because of the back of it as well, which just makes life a little bit more awkward. It means you're costing you a few more seconds, which obviously you don't want to be doing. So that makes it a little bit harder. As well, as a general rule, these types of shoes tend to be a little less grippy than some of the other road shoes. So that's another thing that's worth bearing in mind. So this shoe is a faster shoe for running, but for Hyrox, I would say Brooks Launch is a little more suitable than this pure super shoe, even though it makes you feel awesome when you're running. Last shoe I'm going to go through is a bit of a middle ground. So this has a carbon plate still, which is a Puma DV8s. These aren't the latest model. There's been another model out which has got a slightly different heel counter, which I actually prefer. It just fits around your foot a little bit better. So they smashed that one out the park with that latest release. But with this shoe, the grip on the bottom of this shoe is really good. So this is the Puma grip material, and they've used these on the Velocity Nitros as well, if you've seen those. They just have carbon plating. The grip's amazing. So for the sleds, they're fine. To be honest, I could wear this for almost any workout and have no issues whatsoever, similar to the Brooks in that regard. Where this is better than the Brooks, in my opinion, is because it's a faster shoe for running. Because there's more energy return, so you have a carbon plate again. In the forefoot, as you can see, nice and rigid. So this shoe is just really light, really fast to run in, and it does a really good job on the exercise stations as well. Won't be as fast as these super shoes in terms of pure running speed. That's really hard, especially the Vaporfly is pretty much the fastest shoe that's ever been made. But yeah, so these shoes are a great option. Price wise as well, definitely a much better price option than the Vaporflies. So these are slightly older models. You can probably pick these up for around $150, but these new models of this will retail usually between the $170 and the $250 mark. These are probably going to be between, if you get this year's older model, it's actually going to be probably between 90 and 100, and then a newer model will probably be around 120 maybe. So a really good price for a good running shoe in its own right, and then with the grip it's got, it's a real good shoe for Hyrox, okay? So this is a type of shoe that's going to suit you the best if you're looking to pick running shoes, okay? So Metcons suitable, Brooks Launch, Nike Pegasus, really good option. Then you've got your DV8 Nitros, which is probably the best option. In terms of honourable mentions, there's certain shoes which I haven't got with me that I think are really good too. One of those is called the Brooks Hyperion Tempo, which is like a cross between these two. So it's not got a carbon plate, but it'll be quicker than the Brooks, similar good grip, and a little bit lighter. A little bit more of a price point than the launch though. Another good shoe, in one of the only super shoes like this which will do a decent job, is probably the Saucony Endorphin Pro. That range tends to be a little bit more suitable than your Vaporflies would be. So if you want the fastest running shoe possible, if you want like a super shoe to do your Hyrox in, the Sauconys are probably your best option. And they've also got technological speed roll, which means if you heel strike, so if you land with your heel on the ground first, it's going to roll you to your forefoot quicker for a quicker transition, meaning you're just a little bit snappier when you're running too. Because generic super shoes, I should mention this too, suit forefoot strikers a lot more. So heel strikers, if you're getting a super shoe, Sauconys are a really good option for you. If not, go for either the Hyperion Tempo, the Launch, or the Pegasus or something like that. Okay, so I've covered running shoes there. Hopefully that all makes sense. Obviously, any questions, and let me know. What I'll say, no matter which shoe you've got, it's always worth doing a technique called lace locking. So this is essentially going to just pull the shoe a little bit closer to your foot, and it's going to make it a bit easier to reduce the risk of slipping on the sled push in particular. Because what you don't want is your shoe coming off on a sled push, because that's really not ideal. So if I just get the shoe back to how it was when I got it, with that, what you need to do on the same side, so on the left side, I'm just going to take this, I've got an extra eyelet here, I'm just going to loop that through like so. I'm going to do the same on the other side. It's one of those situations where I should be like, here's what I did earlier. It's easier just to show you. So then with the left one, I'm going to put it through the right, and the right one, I'm going to put it through the left. All you're then going to do, you're going to pull two ways. You're going to pull up and across, because one makes it tighter, and then it's going to wrap the shoe around your foot, and that's just going to reduce the slipping on the heel. So you can do this for running, but definitely if you're going to do any sled pushes in these shoes, do that lace lock. It's going to keep your shoes a bit more secure, and also means you might get away with a slightly softer, faster running shoe if you've lace locked it really well. So that's shoes for Hyrox. Hopefully I haven't waffled too much. That makes sense. As I said, any questions, then let me know. And if you have any suggestions that you think I've missed, again, let me know too. And I'll happily give those a go, and then let you guys know what I think about that too. But thanks for watching. If you like what you see, as I said last week, it's going to be more Hyrox content. So subscribe to the channel. Follow me on socials, which is at Missing Fit. And yeah, have a lovely day, and I'll see you guys soon.